Hey everyone, I am Tara Scott. With me as always is Kris Bryant. Welcome to Queerly Recommended.
This is episode 3 and we are so glad to be back here with you.
So we just want to pause before we get started. We just really want to thank everyone who subscribed, and just an extra special thanks to people like Tegan Shepard and Lily Seabrook who reached out on Twitter, let us know how much they liked our first full episode. You know, we've really been overwhelmed and thrilled by the positive responses that we've had so far. And we would love to hear from you more. So if you want to reach out directly, or if you have any questions that you'd be interested in Kris and I answering in a future episode, please send us an email at podcast@queerlyrecommended.com, because we would love to answer listener questions live.
Perfect. Now, we are recording this on January 10th, so it's a week and a half before this is going to air, so you all are listening to this today, the day before the inauguration.
And frankly, we have no idea what's going to happen in the days between today and the day that you're listening to this. We couldn't have anticipated what happened this week, or I suppose we kind of sort of anticipated something was going to happen, but we didn't know it was going to be a goddamn insurrection.
Right.
Kris, how are you doing? Are you okay? I mean, this is your country.
I was really surprised. It was my lunch hour when I started watching just the whole entire confirmation, and then when things started to go south, I knew that there were protesters there, and I kind of figured there would be some rioting, but not to this extreme. And I'm floored that nobody thought to put more cops, more any sort of protection at our Capitol for this very reason. Everybody kind of saw something like this coming. We knew it was going to be bigger than what was anticipated, because look at how much police presence there was during all the Black Lives Matter marches that we had, and then you see a bunch of Trumpers come marching down, and nobody thinks to take them seriously. And of course we all know how extremists can be, and it's just been it's I don't even know how to describe it. It's unbelievable, but yet it really isn't. And the fact that there are still people out there that support Trump floors me. I just had not really a confrontation on Facebook. I try not to talk about it much, but on one of my sister's posts, she said something about this whole, how can anybody be a Trump supporter anymore? And somebody responded with, well, if it wasn't for Trump, we wouldn't have a vaccine for 5 years. And I'm like, oh, God, here we go. So this is really interesting, because I just had on my Patreon page, my personal one, I had a guest who is a microbiologist for infectious diseases on there, explaining how what the virus is, how the vaccine works, and how we are so far ahead that we were able to get the vaccine, as quickly, quote, quote, quickly as we did. And so I reached out to her. I said, I need you to write me something so that I can post it. I can cut and paste it and post it to this person, because she is not educated on what she's saying. And this is what happens. People start believing lies that are on all social media platforms, and we get into a situation like this because nobody corrects people. And if they try to, I try to do it so it's not an attack necessarily. I mean, there are some people I will reach out and attack, which is like our Senator Josh Hawley here in Missouri. I can't stand him. I think he's horrible. And he's one of the ones that, was rah, Trump. He did the fist going into the Capitol building. So there's a lot going on, and I am not all right.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I know even, I'm a Canadian, and I was not okay watching this week. I have so many friends. Including you. I have so many friends. And also family. Like, I do have family that lives in the States. I have some cousins and an aunt that lives in California, and I just worry. And I also found it baffling to go from, in the morning on Twitter, it was all about, holy shit, Mitch McConnell is finally saying the right thing.
Right.
Because of the speech he was making, to, like, not that anymore.
Right.
Like, it was like a switch flipped. And all I could think was, oh, this is the prologue to The Handmaid's Tale. Like, that's literally, they take the government out. That's what happened in that. I am glad that it got shut down before they could do worse. it is a shame that anybody had to die,
Right.
but I mean, the fact that they built a fucking gallows.
Yeah, and nobody, like, had anybody else done that for anything else, it wouldn't have happened. Even, and Trump should have even said, hey, take it down. This is inappropriate. There's one thing to protest something, but another thing, he fucking loved it.
Mm-hmm.
He did. He loved
Mm-hmm.
all of this. Everything about this, he loved, and he still loves it.
Yeah. And again, it's just like, what is going to happen
Right.
in the next 8 days? No idea.
None.
Anything is possible. But I am hoping that people are going to stay safe.
Right.
And that we are going to get to that inauguration. And again, like we were talking about last time, that the grown-ups are going to be able to come back home.
I know. And I think, let's do it virtually. So everybody's safe. Do it from an undisclosed location. Have the inauguration happen. And then that leaves the Trumpers like staring at one another, not knowing what to protest because they don't know where they need to be or do more damage than they've done.
I agree. At the risk of jarring people with a rapid topic shift, we have some other news that is much better than any of what we just talked about. You have a brand new baby book that's out. Do you want to tell people about it?
I do. My book Scent is out now. It is the fourth in my sensory series. It is about a woman. She's an artist, and she also is part owner of a packaging company. And on her way home from work, actually on her way to her studio every week, she rides the train, and she's noticed that there is a woman who is on the train only on Thursdays. And this woman always smells really sweet, and she's very attractive. And so, of course, the main character, Nico, she wants to get to know her, but doesn't really know how to approach her. She's kind of nervous about the whole thing, and she's been burned by, past relationships. She had an ex-wife and an ex-girlfriend that basically destroyed her. So her confidence is low. She's slowly building it up. Her sister, Trish, is helping her. And so she decides, starts off and she decides she's going to go on the train and she's going to go talk to this person. And so she leaves work, she gets on the train, and she, of course, chickens out. So later, it turns out that this woman, she's a chocolatier, so she needs new packaging and new artwork for a new chocolate line, an artisan chocolate line that she's designing and she's made. And so she goes to Nico's company, and
there they are.
There they are, exactly. So it's kind of a... Nico doesn't really share a lot about herself because she wants Sophia to like her for herself because too many things have happened in the past. So she's going to woo and win Sophia over with her personality and not her money. And so that's the story. And I'm very excited about it. It's like I said, it's the fourth in the series. I have one more left. And who doesn't love chocolate? Who doesn't love the smell of chocolate or anything about it? The sugar and sweetness. That's the one thing we all love. If there's, what's the first thing you do when you get like a cake or something out of the oven? It's just the smell. Everybody loves the smell of sweet, whatever it is, whether it's cake, cupcakes, chocolate. I love the smell of it. Like I'm an olfactory person. Smells really get to me the most. And so I had a lot of fun writing this book, and the research was phenomenal.
I know, you just had to try all that chocolate.
I did, and I really did.
The book wouldn't have been the same without
Right.
it. It's what else are you going to do?
Yeah, it would have been a boring book without all the intense research I did for it, and I loved every minute of it.
So does this book come with a warning that people probably need to have snacks nearby?
I think it should probably have, but I think the cover gives it away. I think immediately. Okay, I'm gonna have some chocolate nearby to read this. So.
All right. Well, everybody, if you've been swayed, it is available everywhere now. So go get it.
Yes, Scent. Love it. Okay, so Tara, what are you reading? What are you watching right now? What's keeping your interest? How are you killing time?
I wanted to give a quick update on the Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells because I talked about it last time, and I stayed up way too late last night finishing the novel. So now I have read everything that has been published, and I am dying for the next novella, which is coming out in April. But why do I have to wait that long? Side note, did you see the person who decided to get in a fucking fight with Nora Roberts on her own website about how long publishing takes?
Yes! What an idiot.
What a bad choice. So I am not going to be Deborah who makes bad choices and fights with Nora Roberts and just say, I understand how publishing works. I'm sorry, Martha Wells, if that sounded like I was being a brat. I just have enjoyed this series so much. And so any of you, if you enjoy sci-fi, go get it. Even if you don't typically read sci-fi, you might like it anyway, because what could be better than a robot that should be murdering people, but instead wants to watch 35,000 hours of TV and has to grapple with feelings?
Yay!
There's nothing better.
There's nothing better.
There's nothing better. There have been times where I've been so floored by something that happened that I'm like immediately slacking Sarah, who runs Smart Bitches Trashy Books, one of the sites where I review, and I'm like, Sarah, I'm not okay right now. And she's like, I know you're not okay. And I know why you're not okay. So go do it. The thing that has been keeping me busy in any of my time that is not tied up either with my family or work, and I actually started this over the holidays, is a game on the Nintendo Switch, and it is called Hades, and holy shit is it amazing. So the concept is that you are playing as the son of Hades, so this is not one of those games where you can like set up your character and make them look however you like, or name them or whatever. It's like, no, you are Zagreus, the son of Hades, you are trapped in the underworld, and you don't want to be there anymore. And so you are trying to escape to go back up to the surface of Earth. And you are going to die in this game. You are going to die many, many, many times, because that's actually the point. Because as you do each run, you are accruing different things that will make you stronger and will make you fight more effectively. And it's so good. The writing is excellent. You come across all of the different Greek gods and goddesses because they give Zagreus boons, which is basically like you get different abilities with each of them, and every run is different because there are 6 weapons to choose from, and they can give you the boons that they give you will affect different weapons differently. You can get upgrades to your weapons, you can it's just see, I'm not even articulate. I'm just so excited. And there's a part of me that's like, but what if I was playing right now? And it's like, no, you dumbass, you're recording a podcast, you can't play a video game at the same time. It's not possible. So I can't recommend it enough. The other thing I wanted to talk about is a book that I started listening to today because my hold came in from the library, and it is called Dolly Parton Songteller, My Life in Lyrics. And so the idea is that it is a memoir, but it's from the perspective of the way she writes songs and the songs that she's writing. And so you hear a little bit about how she grew up in poverty when she's talking about the song The Coat of Many Colors and the inspiration for that song and where it came from. And I would say for anybody who's interested in this book, if you can, get both the audiobook and like the book or ebook or however you want to do it, because the audiobook is phenomenal, and it actually just sounds like Dolly is talking. It doesn't sound like she's performing a book at all. But when I went to look on Amazon, I saw that if you get the book, then you also get all the photos that go with it, which you obviously cannot get in the audiobook.
Right. And who doesn't love Dolly? I mean, Dolly she's saving the world right now. Oh man. See, I always admired her anyway because she just does so much great philanthropic work. She does. All of the books, the millions and millions of books that she's given away to millions of kids to help with childhood literacy is incredible. She's also a phenomenal singer, but like, this is the year we found out that she's a literal superhero, putting $1 million towards COVID vaccine research. Like, how's that for somebody? And very quiet about it.
Some of their wealth. Yes.
Very good. And when I was a child, when I was a kid, I remember, everybody knew Dolly Parton because of her big boobs. I mean, let's just say, truly, that's
and hair.
And hair.
When I was when I was 6 and a child of the 80s, when I was a little 6-year-old in the 80s, I would watch her variety show, and I just thought she was the most beautiful person in the whole world with her amazing magical hair. And then I grew up and learned it was all wigs.
You didn't know that. That's cute.
No.
I remember,
Nobody told
like,
me.
Dolly Parton has always been a supporter of LGBT. Always has been. She's the one that said, you know, I don't understand why we can't allow gay marriage. Let the gay people be as miserable as the straight people. So she's always been, her quote was something like that. I don't know off the top of my head, but she's always she's just perfect. I mean, I am a Dolly Parton fan just for all that she's done. Especially, you know, the older I get, I appreciate it more. You know, I think, you know, with her getting older too, and just the older you get, the more calm you become, and you get more involved in your communities, I think, and trying to support things. And she does. You're right. She does so many good things, and I can't say enough good things about her.
The other thing that's kind of interesting listening to the book, and I'm probably only about a half an hour in, is that she talks a lot about her spirituality because it is tied a lot to her writing process. She talks about being in the zone as being in this like God place, and that so much of her inspiration, like she has these lines that she attributes to like God just giving them to her. And what I like is that for me it's challenging the idea that you can't have a deep faith but still be a supporter of queer people, because my experience has generally told me the opposite. And so I am personally finding it kind of healing to hear her talk about her spirituality, but to also know that she is such a strong supporter of people like us, and that she cares about us, and that she's, you know, that vaccine wasn't just for the straight people that she was giving the money or anything like that. Right.
Yeah, so she's with when I was a kid, we had her music on a lot. Like I think I mentioned before, we had choices. We could either pick country, we could pick Elvis or Motown, and those we didn't grow up with TV. So it was music. So I know all the Elvis songs, I know all of Motown, and I know a lot of Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers, and of course, you know, their duet, and yeah. So for sure.
So, Kris, what are you reading or watching right now? What has been helping distract you from the world?
So, I finished, I got into Bridgerton and finished it like in a day. It was one of those where it's just, I turned it on and I love the bodice ripper type books. That's what I read in college. We've talked about that before. And that's kind of what Bridgerton is. You know, you have your dukes and your duchesses and your lords, and it's actually kind of, it's like my books that I read are coming to life on the screen. So, but the cool thing, so the storyline is great. I mean, I like the storyline, but what I really liked is that they took contemporary music and played it classically, if that's even a thing. So you hear a song and you think, oh, it's just music. You know, you're watching, they go to all these balls. And so you hear a song, you're like, oh, that's really cool. And then all of a sudden you're starting to sing this song, and you're like, why do I know this song? And it's like, what? And it's like, you know, Girls Like You, Maroon 5, or you're singing Billie Eilish, or, you know, it's great. I love it. So that was kind of a fun little thing that they threw in, a little morsel that was very entertaining. So I watched Bridgerton, like I said, one day, and right now I am empty. I have seen it all. I have watched everything. I have used some of my friends' recommendations of things to watch, and they're horrible, and they are no longer my friends. Because,
Kris has no friends anymore.
Right, we're not friends anymore. Don't tell me to watch. This is horrible. So I'm so desperate. I like scream into my remote, you know, zombie movies, apocalyptic movies, because that's what I like to watch, or action movies. And I've seen like everything, you know. And we're like a year and a half or so behind because nothing's really been made. Only a few things have been made in 2020. So I've seen it all. I'm caught up on everything, and so I'm reading now.
And what are you reading?
I started Spindrift by Burke. I started that, the Seal Cove series. I think that's the first one. And I'm reading that.
Yeah, it's great.
It is. I love it. And I loved that there are, of course, dogs in it. Of course. I mean, Anna Brooks can have dogs in it.
So many good dogs in that book.
Yes. So
and great dog names.
Right. Kraken. I love it. I love the whole thing.
So
Release
good.
the Kraken, which is great.
Yes.
You know, we all need that. So I'm reading that now. And also I'm watching the football playoffs. So that's what's been keeping me entertained for the last week. So
I guess football is still a thing in this COVID world.
You believe it or not?
Do sports.
I know. But, here's the deal. It's so funny because I was just talking about this earlier today. When my hometown, when Kansas City does well at sports, I'm in. And I love watching all the playoffs because I want to know who we're going to play. And same thing with baseball. I want to watch the playoffs and who we're going to play. But if my team is out, then I really don't care about it. But, and I'm, like I said, I'm desperate to watch anything. And I get so bored with some of the recommendations I've received. So football's on, it's mindless. I can lean over, watch it. Oh yeah, cool. And then I can do whatever I need to do. So it's kind of, it's just kind of how it is here in the Midwest.
Do you rewatch shows at all?
I do. I do, but if it's been a while. I can't just, sometimes I'll watch a show and I'll be like, I really like that, I'll watch it again. But most of the time, I need a gap, period. Because I have the TV on all the time. I'm constantly watching things that, if it's on again and my mind remembers it clearly, then I get bored with it.
Oh, okay.
So.
Yeah. See, I had a ritual when I was in grad school where every time I was going to clean my apartment, and it wasn't a very big apartment, but I was lazy, so it took a while because I left too long in between. And so I would put on the BBC miniseries for Pride and Prejudice, the Colin Firth, Jennifer Ely. For me, it's the best Pride and Prejudice. And so I would have it on so I could listen while I was cleaning, and then I would come and sit for the good parts. Exactly. And then I'd go clean again, and then come back and sit down again.
Right. For sure, I will rewatch movies for that reason. All the good parts, I'll rewatch them. So tell us, what is your big recommendation this week?
Okay, so I had a recommendation in mind, and then everything went fucking sideways. Right. And so I'm going to postpone that recommendation for a future episode. But get ready. This is me teasing you all that in a future episode, I'm going to talk to you about the best book that I read in all of 2020.
And I am reading it now as well, and I've kept it quiet.
Hooray! It actually might be the best book I've read in the last decade.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not even an exaggeration. I literally mean it. I think it is. So, yeah, you're all just going to have to wait a couple more weeks to hear what that is. Sorry, not sorry. Hope you come back. But yeah, it's just given what's going on in the world, I think this week I want to bring a recommendation for a comfort read. If for any reason you haven't listened to the last episode, I would say please go back, listen to the last episode that we did, because I also have a fantastic comfort read for you there, which is Who We Could Be by Chelsea M. Cameron, which was a book that I read last year and adored. But this week, I am going to share my absolute ultimate comfort read, one of my favorite books in the whole wide world, and it is called Hoosier Daddy by Anne McMan and Salem West. And who doesn't love a book that starts off with a pun in its title?
I love it.
Me, depending on what it is. I don't like most puns, but I liked this one. And the reason it's a pun is that it takes place in small town Indiana, which is Hoosier country, as far as I understand, as a Canadian who hasn't been there before.
Yes. As a sports person, I appreciate that, so.
Oh, good. Hooray. There's a whole other level there that I just don't understand, but that's okay.
Basketball. Okay, go ahead.
So the idea of this story is that it is told in the first person from the perspective of Jill Fryman, who goes by the name Friday. Everybody calls her Friday. She's been working at Krylon Motors for 12 years. She's a line supervisor. She has no real authority. Most of the people that have authority in the factory, of course, are men who don't know nearly as much as her. Much to her frustration and chagrin. She's been working on her MBA, but doesn't really feel like there's much point. Why finish it? What is she going to do with it? And she goes and hangs out with her work pals at the end of the day at their local bar of choice, which is called Hoosier Daddy. Now, Krylon, the factory, has just been bought by a Japanese company, and so there's going to be a change of management happening. And this leads to some UAW, or United Automobile Workers, the union, some of their agitators showing up in town because they're hoping to get enough of the workforce to get their signatures over so that they can trigger a vote to unionize the plant. And where it gets interesting is that one of the agitators is Elle, who is this beautiful, smart, funny, charming woman. They have instant chemistry. They don't really fight it. They're really interested in each other. And although they should technically be enemies because, you know, one of them is in management at the factory and the other one is a union agitator, they just can't help themselves. And it's an adorable romance. There are so many things that I love about this book, and I have talked about it as often as I can and to as many people as I can because I just think it's one of those books that everyone should read because it has so much heart and it has so much humor. And for me, it's a book that spoke directly to my heart too because I identified so much with Friday. I grew up pretty much right across from the Detroit border in Windsor, Ontario. And Windsor is the auto manufacturing capital of Canada. Obviously, it's taken a bit of a beating in the last couple of decades, but when I grew up, you know, everybody either were working for Ford, Chrysler, or GM, and if they weren't working for there, they were like my dad, working for other factories that were building the parts that Ford, Chrysler, or GM were taking. And I got a master's, and I lived in the county, which sounded pretty similar to kind of the county area in this book as well, where, you know, like I come from a farming family, and I didn't feel like I never felt like I totally fit in there, which it was only as an adult, and I moved away and realized I was queer. I was like, oh, there it is. That's the thing. There it is. And so for me, it was so incredible to see Jill go on this journey of reckoning with like who she is and her value, and that she is a person who deserves respect and love and authority. And it's just lovely. And there's other, like, the characters are so quirky, but it's never, the way it's done, it never feels like the book is punching down at them. Right. It never feels like it's making fun of them. It's all with love, which was a really big thing for me. But there were times, like, I remember I read it on my Kindle. I've read this book so many times, and I've listened to it a few times. And so the first time I read it, I laughed so hard, I was crying, and I couldn't see anymore. And then I listened to it the first time, and it did it again. I was like, there was this one time I was cooking while I was listening to it, and I was laughing so hard, and I had to put the knife down so that I wouldn't, like, stab myself or cut my finger off. And I think that was because of there's a joke about Warren Jeffs in there, which you kind of have to know who he is, but he's that, like, Mormon leader from Utah who married too many 16-year-olds or something like that, and it just, chef's kiss. So good. And
they all, you know, they're funny in real life, too. They're just hilarious to be around, Anne and Salem.
Yes. And I think, too, like, as funny as this book is, like, again, like I said, it doesn't punch down, and there's so much heart, and it's so thoughtful. Like, it's such a thoughtful, gentle, loving representation of small-town life. And there's no angst to be had in there. The only thing that, if anybody is looking for any kind of content warnings, is that there is sexual harassment at work. There's a part of me, you know, as a woman in my 40s, it's like, and what workplace does
I was just going to say that. Yeah, I was just going to say that. Same thing. I mean, especially, you know, in the 80s and 90s, it was horrible. You know, it's improved, but I think we've all been through it.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate.
Which doesn't make it make it okay, but I wouldn't even say that it was particularly egregious in this book. So this is a book that I feel very safe recommending as, do you want to just hide away from the world in a book that's full of love and laugh and relax? It's the absolute perfect choice.
Great.
So, Kris, what is your big queer recommendation for the week?
For this week, and I probably should have used it for the first episode, but I wanted to kind of review everything about it, but my recommendation is Wynonna Earp. So, I'm going to read you the synopsis about this wonderful show and all the reasons why I love it. Wynonna Earp has been away from her hometown purgatory for years, but returns to reluctantly take on a role that Wyatt Earp's heir is destined for. Demon Protector. Her task is to take out revenants, the resurrected souls of the criminals who were taken down at one time by her great-grandfather. Wynonna teams up with her sister Waverly, Agent Xavier Dawes, and Doc Holliday. And so this is the reason why I like... Okay, first of all, full disclosure, it took me 3 tries to get into this show. 3 times it took me. I think because it was recommended to me and I didn't know what it was about. It was one of those where it's like, I'll give it a try. And I just couldn't get into it. My friend, KB Draper, told me to get to watch it. And I couldn't get into it the first couple of times I tried it. And also, side note, KB Draper also told me to watch Xena, and I couldn't even get into that show. So fight me on that, but I'm probably one of the few people that really didn't get into the whole Xena thing.
Oh, I never did either.
Okay, so good. I have an ally here.
Yeah, you are not alone. I love Lucy Lawless, but I ended up being more of a fan of hers from Battlestar Galactica, and also seeing her fight people like Kevin Sorbo on Twitter.
Yes, that's fantastic. I actually responded to that, but and even so, I didn't even know about Xena when it was on, in the 90s, I think. I didn't even know about it. So to go back and watch it after we have so much queer representation in movies and other shows, to go back and watch Xena, it just doesn't work for me. Anyway, so that didn't work.
No, because you have to settle. You would have to settle for subtext,
right? Exactly.
Instead of now there's actual no, it's text now and all these other things.
Right. You actually see the kiss, you see the making out, you see the sex and the love making and love and the relationship build, and so that's what I'm in for. I'm into it now for those kind of things, not things that you have to, like you said, you kind of have to read between the lines to get. So, I love this show because I love Wynonna Earp because it is a series that has positive, out and proud queer couple, and they don't die. It's one of those where, every season, their relationship improves and it evolves, and it's beautiful to see. Wynonna's younger sister Waverly and the town sheriff Nicole Hott, they're recognized as Way Hot, which is perfect, Their 2 names together, you gotta love it. They're happy and sexy throughout the seasons, and there's no doom and gloom. They get separated a few times, but not by choice. It's just part of the storyline.
How many seasons are there now?
4.
Cool.
So, and there's a big fight. I mean, the fans. So there's this whole thing called Earpers. Hashtag Earpers. And I consider myself an Earper. And it's a family experience. And there's so many people out there who love this show and promote it and always talk about it. And I've never experienced it before. It's almost like a Trekkie convention. You get all these people who dress up, and it's almost like Star Trek, except it's Earper.
Like the Firefly, let's try that one more time. Like the Firefly fans calling themselves browncoats.
Right.
Although, one point of clarification, it is not a family show. This is not a show for kids. I've seen only the first season, and to be honest, there is no reason why I didn't continue with it, other than sometimes I just don't keep watching things.
Right. I fall to that too.
Right? I really enjoyed the first season. I thought it was awesome. The violence was a little too much for me because I'm a big baby. But I really liked it. And the other thing that I personally liked is that it's filmed not too far from where I live.
Nice.
There are scenes actually, there are little bits that are filmed right in Calgary. I'm like, I know exactly the spot in Calgary where they filmed it. And fun fact, our former day home provider is a murder victim in one of the episodes.
Ooh, that's fantastic. Nice.
She didn't live in the episode, but she sure kept our kid alive when she was little.
And that's important. So being an Earper, it's nice. I've been to a few. Well, first of all, I'll start off with ClexaCon. When I was in ClexaCon, I attended a lot of the panels where they had Wynonna Earp panels. And so then all the Earpers show up and they ask questions and they interact. And also you can join they have like get-togethers. They have like dinner.
Oh, like meet and greets?
Yeah, like meet and greets. And there's like, you can have like happy hour with them. And the thing I love about the whole entire staff and cast is that they take the time to talk to their fans. Like there is so much togetherness with this whole thing that I love it so much for that reason. That it's like I said, it's a family. You know, I found a family with my publishing company and all the writers there, and then I have this extra family where it kind of bleeds. A lot of Earpers are LGBT, and so my two worlds kind of intersect at certain points, and I love that. I love that that they come together. So some of my writers and readers are fans of the show, and I meet them, and so it's kind of nice. I like that a lot.
Related question.
Yes.
Am I remembering correctly, reading online, that the two actors who play, like, that are the Wayhot character couple, am I remembering correctly that they both also discovered and recognized their queerness from playing these characters?
I think so, yes. Or at least they outwardly came out and said it during the show, you know, during the filming of the show. But, and, you know, they're just, I love everything about the cast and these characters. I like the characters. I love the actual actresses. One time I was at an Earp convention, and I can't remember what it was called, but it was one in St. Louis. And so we were all standing kind of, you had to like snake around this velvet rope type thing, you know, and you're all in line for something. And there's this trash can like 5 feet from us. And we're just standing there and we're talking about, and all of a sudden, like the character who plays Waverly pops out of the trash can. So she's in there listening, and I'm sure she's giggling, and she just popped up just to surprise everybody and just kind of waved and then went back to behind the curtain for the next event. I mean, it's great. It's playful and wonderful, and like I said, the queer representation is great. It's positive, which is what we need. And it's interesting because I went back and I revisited season 1 because I was like, okay, why did I struggle so much the first time with season 1? And I think that the actors were just trying to get comfortable with who their characters are. I mean, Melanie Scrofano, who plays Wynonna, she is very, very snarky, and at the beginning it's a little rusty. I think she was trying to figure out who that character really is, because now, like, hands down, there's so much chemistry going on in this show from like everything. I mean, you see how they start melding together as a family on the screen, and I love that you see that, you feel that. I need chemistry. If I watch something, I need the chemistry to be there for all the characters, not just love interest characters, but the actual, you know, the sisterly love, and then you have like the friends, and then you have like the boyfriends, the girlfriends. You just need to have that chemistry, and it took a little bit, but I think now it's it's perfect. Like, it is a perfect show, and the fans made the season happen. Like, there was so much involvement, the fans, you know, writing to everybody, and they did billboards in Times Square to get this show.
Yeah, because it was supposed to be canceled.
Right, it was supposed to be canceled, and because the fandom is just so, all these Earpers, they're just so dedicated to this show, they want more, that they made it happen. It's so great. It's a great show. So if you can pick it up again, if you find the time, then you know, and know that it is a paranormal series. You know, you're going to get some strangeness, and you have to, like, the whole disbelief, you know, suspension of disbelief. You have to believe in the completely unbelievable with this, and just have fun with it, because that's what it is. It's just fun. Yeah,
I am going to come back to it at some point, because I did enjoy it, and I enjoyed the characters, and you're right, the chemistry gets really good, and it's just, I don't know, it's worthwhile. I just have to finish Schitt's Creek first.
Still on Schitt's Creek, huh?
Oh, it takes so long to watch things because I read 1 to 2 books a week, and I also started playing Hades, and each run through, like, I have to finish a run through before I put down the Switch, and that takes about 45 minutes each time, and I work, and I have these kids,
and you have kids,
love me and want to hang out with me, which is it's actually pretty amazing. I'm saying it like it's not cool, but it's actually cool. Pretty cool.
It is.
Yeah, no, we're in that age where they still think I'm awesome, so unfortunately Wynonna Earp has to wait. But I know that it will wait, because I will come back to it.
You know, and it's great because even the writer, Emily Andrus, she's so involved, especially on Twitter. You know,
Mm-hmm.
she's really involved with the fandom and also with politics down here. So it's interesting to get her take on things. And I love it when a show, you know, from ground level, you start with a show at the very beginning and you grow with it, and it just becomes a family. And all these conventions that go on, whether it's specific to the show or ClexaCon or any sort of Comic-Con. I went to a Comic-Con and they had some characters from Lost Girl.
Oh,
which
yeah.
is probably something I'll talk about in future episodes, because Lost Girl is a really good series to watch as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is all for this episode. Thank you so much for joining us again. If you have enjoyed this show, please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you can leave a review, we will give you the highest of 5s, you know, like in our hearts,
right,
because we're not in your house, but we'll want to do it.
We'll do a virtual one, maybe a virtual hug.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to connect with us on your favorite social media sites, you can just search for Queerly Recommended. We are on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and we will respond, we promise. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, if you want to send us a question or just a note, you can email us at podcast@queerlyrecommended.com. That's all for today. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. But I love the fact that, you know, I almost started at the ground level with this show.
Oh yeah.
And just the fandom.
Have you? She's in Letterkenny. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
She's not as good in Letterkenny, unfortunately, which I don't think is her fault. I think is how they wrote her character. Mm. But I mean, if you're looking for something else to watch, it's a comedy. It takes place in like rural, I think it's supposed to be Ontario, it's in Canada, and it's so clever. There's so much wordplay. It has a lot of heart. The characters are hilarious. It's super sex positive. It's queer positive.
Nice.
It's great. Go do it. I hope you like it so that we can still be friends.